Hey folks, this is the stuntydm. This is a module review video with a difference. On this one I'm going through different UI options for Foundry. I've not gone through a massive loads of them, but the most recent ones I've seen, more common ones that seem to be updated relatively recently. So as you can see on the list here, we're going to go through Core Foundry first of all, so you can see what the base one looks like. Then we've got Clean Modern, D&D 5e, Ernie's Modern UI, Minimal UI, Dracula, RPG, Twilight, and Whetstone. So each one I'll go through briefly. I will show you the settings available, the colorations, what changes it's done to Foundry UI. I'll also do an attack roll for you, show you character sheets, and also show you a spell being used. I have minimal mods included, so the ones I do have on there are MIDI QOL and tidy sheets for the most part, and one for the music. I'm using MIDI QOL and tidy sheets because those are probably the more common ways I've seen people use. So tidy sheets is possibly the most common character sheet change. I want to show you how it reacts, how these modules react with tidy sheets itself, and also MIDI QOL, excuse me, MIDI QOL, MIDI. That one, a lot of people use that, but also it shows you the functionality of what a attack roll or spell would look like in the chat log. So yeah. This is going to be kind of brief run through, just kind of show you them, and at the end I'll come back and tell you my thoughts on which ones I liked, what I liked about them, and then what I would recommend. So I'll see you in just a moment with the first one. So this is the first module. It's not really a module, this is the core Foundry UI. You see this is what you'll get on every Foundry. When you load it, it looks exactly the same. Features are all the same here. No variations, no changes. And if we open up character sheets, so it's a tidy sheet. And if we go default, this is how a default player looks like. If we go to shadow, this is a tidy sheet one again, and then default. That's how that one looks. Let's show you how attack rolls look in this. So that's better. Okay, so there's that. And then let's cast a spell. So you got the spell slots. And that's how it looks there. So kind of standard, nothing special, exactly what I expect from Core Foundry. So we'll move on to the next one in just one moment. So this is the Clean Modern UI. You can automatically see it is slightly different. The icons are larger and rounded. These seem to be a bit more spread out, so I'm not sure if they are. I expect to have something else there. You can see this is most centralized. These all look at basically the same. There's no real changes here. Let me look at the configurations. So you have like all these options here for colorations. So this is obviously you can see like currently it's been set to mint green. Let's set it to red. Got dark themes. The light theme is the standard. You can change the blur level on certain things. So if we go to save changes, see here's a light version. Quite bright, quite futuristic. This is a standard NPC. Sorry, standard player. And look at the tidy sheet version. Here's tidy sheets. And then again, a standard monster, tidy sheet monster, so you can see how they look. And again, let's do an attack roll. You can see how it looks. So there's that, and then cast a spell, so you can see how a spell looks. Yeah, pop down. There you go. That's the second one. We'll be back in just a moment with the third. This one does seem to be more suited to a more modern game, possibly like a sci-fi fantasy one. The dark theme is quite nice. The light theme I find a little bit too bright and clean, but the rounded edges of stuff is quite nice. I do like that. So yeah, I'll be back in just a second with the next one. So this one is the one that is very specific to 5th edition. It is the D&D 5e UI. You can see this has quite a lot of changes. One, it's a dark theme automatically off the bat. We can see it's placed a lot more stuff themed around D&D, so you've got Dungeons & Dragons there. Dice with icons for all the classes as your pull screen, which is quite cool. And one of the big things is the icons here have all changed. So there's any settings for this. So you can obviously players can disable it if they'd rather not. You can change backgrounds, colours and stuff like that. Default chat prefixes. Yeah, so it's quite straightforward. So let me show you how our theme looks on. So this is tidy sheets. Let's look on the default, see how it looks on there. That's the default one. And for NPCs, again, tidy sheets. And default doesn't affect the character sheets at all, but let me show you attack. So same look, same functionality, no real changes to the combat. It does put it in the grey box rather than colouring it with the background. One thing you'll notice, there is no alternative light colour. If you don't want it to be dark theme, this is probably not really the one for you. Brave Shadow has died, but it is set for D&D, and I believe there is a background image that does have like a dragon set on here. It's a nice little theme. You got the grey box on here for your text, bit of parchment. So yeah, it's themed. I do find these a little bit confusing. I mean, I don't know what that is. A scroll. Yeah, so this is, oh yeah, the other thing is obviously the icon has gone from a normal marker to this, and you can see it changes as you go up there. Overall, it's not bad. I don't know, it just feels a little too over the top. I don't like these. Don't know if there's an option to remove them. No, doesn't appear that there is. I just find them a little bit too confusing. I'm used to the Foundry ones, and I mean, what's this Bell one? Audio playlist. A gelatinous cube for roll table, I think. Yeah, I just find it a little bit too hard. Also, I don't like the fact that you got a dark theme, but it still puts the roll boxes and posts in the general grey background. Yeah, I thought it would have been more interesting and more useful if that was included in the theme, so these would have been darkened rather than posted that way. But here's what it is. Like I said, it is specifically for 5th edition. This is a nice touch, but it's not one I've really ever used. So we're back with the next one in just one moment. So this one is called Ernie's Modern UI. Just check that, the modules. Yeah, Ernie's Modern UI. Again, this is more of a sci-fi look, very square edges. It's gotten rid of the icon in the top corner, the Foundry logo. Things are kind of quite blocky looking. see what options we have for configurations. I've got gem settings there, so you can change your font size, border radius, and background image. The opacity. Turn logo on and off. See thumbnails. Ernie's layout. You can change your colours, so if we go dark mode, let's look at that. Here's your dark mode of Ernie's. Let's look at Western. Not more of a tanned one if you're going for that kind of theme. So these are preset ones, and there's the basic Foundry. You got compact mode, subtle layout. So we save those changes. So you can see here it hides basically the UI, but it is just faded, so it's still there. The compact one though does seem to shrink down this quite a bit, which is relatively nice. Can't say I'm a fan of the subtle layout as much. So let's have a look at character sheets. So this one does affect it, so it's grey there for default. Same again for tidy, so it works with tidy sheets quite nicely. Brave shadow, again default, and tidy sheets works perfect with tidy sheets. Another thing I do notice is as we are set to dark mode, and see if that works with the sheets as well. So yeah, not great there. It's a little bit difficult to see in parts. Yeah, I find like the grey there isn't great. I mean, personally I would use tidy sheets. I just find the dark grey and the slightly lighter grey with black writing doesn't make it easy to see. So just give you some more hit points, and I'll make an attack against them. You see it's got a very much square look on this. Yeah, I think this would probably be quite a nice UI for a more modern game. If you were playing, I don't know, Star Wars maybe, it could work with that. So this one does affect the cards on here. Does seem to show the darker colours with the theme, which is quite nice. I do like that. I'll be back with another one in just one moment. So this one is called Minimal UI. It's quite a big change. You can see it shrinks everything down to being minimal, hides the bars, changes the size on a lot of stuff. So we can have a look at the settings on this one. So minimal, so you can change the colours, shadow strength, the hover transparency, hide the logo entirely, hide all logos set for chat. Navigation start visible. You can show, so you can have normal so navigation, you can have that be like not the sun size. You can control how you want these to appear, so let's go always visible. Macro hotbar, visible, I want that. You can change the number of slots on it. You can change the location of it, which is quite nice. It gives you a bit more variation on how that goes. Right side, yeah, always visible. Okay, let's go. If we go save that, that's me. That's going to reload it all. Give it a moment. This one has quite a lot to change. It's not just a quick alteration, but you can see here now. So this is how I'd probably have it set a bit more. Again, note that it is technically a dark theme. You can see it's got the much bit is dark theme. It's got faded backgrounds. This is quite nice that they're a bit smaller. The standard ones are quite large, and hiding the logo does give you more range on top. You see the configurations, look at the sheets. Okay, doesn't have any impact on the character sheet for tidy. Let's look at the default one, or default. Same as the monsters. So your character sheets would still look exactly the same as usual. And just so you can see how it looks. Hand crossbow. Again, kind of colorations are exactly the same. Spellbook. Because it's got a slightly darker theme, I would have expected it to have some different change, but I think it's more to shrink things. So this one's probably going to be more useful if you've got a smaller screen. It saves you some kind of real estate on your character on your screens because these are a lot smaller. When you have more modules, obviously you do get the second screen to pop out sometimes. So okay, that's how it does it. So rather than it popping out as the second one, you can see it does an inline and changes these here, which isn't too bad. Does take a little bit getting used to. Keeps it all very neat and tidy, one in one. One of the options is you can have it the second column still pop out, but it's all nice and neat and tidy. It's not a bad one. I do quite like this one. It's got a nice little theme to it. Yeah, so back in a second, just another one. So this one is called Dracula. You can see it is a dark theme. Icons are all still the same sizes, but you've got a more darker text tone here. Let's look at the configuration for it. We can basically add a blur filter. Not really much configuration there, so you kind of got the dark and purplish tones to it, the character sheets. So core one is darkened, matching the theme. Let's see, that's a tidy sheets, but that is pretty much impossible to read. Does only seem to show up on certain things, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend using tidy sheets with this one. Works pretty well. Core, let's have a look again at tidy sheets on monsters. Yeah, again, does configured. I'm pretty certain I remember reading up on this one, and it isn't meant to be configured in that way. I believe the author said that trying to configure for tidy sheets is a lot of effort because there is just a lot of stuff going on with tidy sheets. So let's go switch you back to there. Okay, so you see the pop-ups still look all the same. Separation of things there. Let's go to spellbook. Let's go to drop down. Do I have any spell slots? There you go. So yeah, you can see that it's quite clean, quite sharp. The overall main changes are the text box and character sheets if you're using the core. I don't know how well it works with any of the character sheet UI, but kind of works here. One thing, yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a nice little theme. Pretty useful for a more gothic one, but there's also kind of a sci-fi feel to it as well, in a way. I feel the kind of like luminous purple and black kind of could fit quite well with nice sci-fi. So that's Dracula. 1 second, we'll be back with another one. So this one is RPG style for Foundry. This is quite a big overhaul, as you can see. The pattern behind it's got rid of the logo. These are all changed. Nice little backgrounds. Icons are the same, but the coloration stands out quite well. Little line does determine what you're on. You can see the little pattern behind it. It's got a nice little darker one, and here's kind of like a smudged coal effect almost. Let's see what configuration we have for it. So here we go. Yes, this is the thing I've noticed. When you have more scenes, so by default the navigation is done vertically rather than horizontally. I find that would take up a lot of screen space, so I'd have it vertical and horizontal equal. So that's done because it automatically integrates with Combat Carousel, giving you the space up here. So it would do the scenes down this way. If you don't use Combat Carousel, you just have it horizontal as normal. Compact, you can reduce the size of the left menu and removes the logo. So let's see how that looks. You can return that and you can disable it, so allowing people, players to change that. So let's see how this looks. Still got a logo there. Don't actually change anything. Go. Try that again, shall we? Compound mode. Maybe exit it one at a time. There we go. Okay, so logo's gone. These are moved up slightly, giving you that bit more room down the side. The rest of it seems kind of standard. This is the core sheet. Matches the theme. Quite readable. I do quite like it. It is very readable. Little stamp there in the background. I look at it. Right. Oh, it's kind of see-through. Took me a moment to realise that. Does it work with tidy sheets? Currently no. So tidy sheets is not working with it. Same as the NPC. Let's look at the NPC. Yeah, so the core one kind of works quite nicely. Let's have a look at how it looks. Okay. So that's how it looks. The background is different. It's got a nice little kind of greyish, brownish even background that matches the theme itself. Quite dark. The writing isn't too bright. I do think it's readable, which is quite nice. And let's go to the character sheet again. Same here. It's dark, but I think the writing is quite clear. You can quite easily see your features and stuff. You're not trying to figure out what colour everything is or what everything looks like. It is all set there. So that's not bad. Nice little theme. And on to the next. So if you watch any of my videos, you'll know this one. This is my standard one. This is called Twilight. It is a black theme, as you can see. Colorizes everything to make it nice and dark. Don't really believe there's any settings as such to it. Yeah, there we go. So you can change the label. Oh no, that's forms. So one thing that Twilight UI does come with, it has a few dependencies. One that changes the folder colorations. And things like that. Let's look at the cat sheet. So core cat sheet black, matches the theme entirely. Tidy sheets same. I find it stands out quite nicely. Pure black and white is nice and easy to see. Let's look at monster again. Looks perfect to me. So let's see how it looks with an attack. Go. Okay. Let's cast a spell as well. You can see here it's done it. So this is the buttons. So this is one of the dependencies it adds. It makes buttons rather than the drop-down menu, which I do prefer. One thing I do notice about this one, this works very well with the, I believe it's MIDI setting, and that allows you to determine the coloration of posts with characters. So you can, so it will color the edges of the box to match the person's icon color down here, so you know quick glance who's posting it. As an example, you can see here it's all kind of purplish, which matches my color there. Nice little feature. It doesn't have anything else really, it kind of just makes it into a dark theme. This is the one I use the most. I believe there's one last one to go through, so we'll go through that and that'll be it. So 1 second. This last one is called Whetstone. It's a theme manager. You'll see here. So let's have a look at this. The theme. This one allows you to just change everything. See how it interacts. So title sheets does have that. I do believe that is because with the previous one I used, it automatically sets the sheet to be a dark one. So let me look. So do we see many options? But I think so. We can custom them. You can change your header font, body font, coloration. So background, so it looks like all these are, let's go there. So delivery, okay. So there's any other settings for Whetstone here. Yeah. This brings this up. So you've got global options, menu button. Okay, so it doesn't appear to be many themes. But one person's made them, there may be more out there. But if I can import and export them, you've got settings and substyles. I'll take that off. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's kind of allows you. I think it's an old version, so I don't think it's going to be compatible with newer versions. But it does kind of work. So yeah, so title sheets is dark themed at the moment. So let's see how it looks. I'll take that off title sheets. No. So let's try it with the coloured theme on, ocean blue. See if it affects title sheets at all. It does. So you can see that title sheets have this coloration. So if this works in upper versions and the more on that are more wanted down there, this one might be a nice one to have a more custom theme. So this is too difficult to see. Let's see how it looks with attack rolls. Give you hit points again. Target. So see how. Okay, it's not too bad. It's not the easiest to see. I think that the writing probably could be a little bit brighter. Maybe go white on that to make that work a bit more. For me, I think it's the darker text on a dark background, not the easiest one to note. So let's actually see, can we change text color light? Let's go white. Text color. Darker. See how that looks. Doesn't this make any difference? No honesty. I'm not sure how configurable this is because it doesn't appear to have changed much. The writing's still a little bit. It's not bad. It's readable, I feel. But I do think if you can have a dark theme, you'll be more suited to have a brighter theme for text, just to make it that tiny bit easier to see how everything is going. Text on dark backgrounds, highlights, yeah. Text boxes. Try that. Yeah, I'm just playing around with this now. I'm curious. I've never really seen this one before. It's interesting to see how it all looks. We can change them here. By charcoal, so you can see how that affects the UI coloration. So my final thoughts. Some of them are quite nice, depending on what you're looking for. So I found Ernie's and Clean Modern to be a little bit too clean and sharp. Would be ideal for maybe like a Star Wars game or a futuristic game. Those would be quite useful. I think the settings are quite nice there. D&D 5e, even though it's designed for 5th edition, I found it just too busy. There's too much going on. They've tried too hard to go D&D. Look, D&D, D&D, and it's just like, okay, cool, we get it. I want to be able to quickly see these icons, not look at it and go, what's the gelatinous cube stand for again? Oh wait, which one's that? It's like, okay, where do I find my characters? Stuff like that. This doesn't need to be in there. I would have happily preferred it to have the normal ones or remove those icons. Give the option to remove those and have the coloration and theme a little bit. I also didn't like the fact that it changes everything else, but the chat boxes stick to core Foundry like grey. I don't know why. It seems odd to me to go, here's like a dark theme, but not have it all dark theme. Minimal I do quite like. I like the screen saving options, removing certain things, shrinking it down, brings a bit more space here and there. It's quite nice. For lightweight, it's not a bad one. Dracula, I did quite like that. I wish that they had options for more coloration. And options to play around with it a little bit, and to also tidy sheets integration, but I'm aware that this is a relatively new theme, and the author said that there is a lot of work that requires to go into tidy sheets. It's not just quick click here and you're done. RPG is one I've looked at using before. It is quite nice. The other thing I do find is the separation in the chat log, not always clear. I wish it would kind of allow you to separate the boxes out when someone posts. So for example, 𝐼𝐷𝐞 allows you to put a highlight box around a colour around your post in the chat, so you can quickly see, oh, this was this person's post. I quite like that, and I wish that was more of an option. Twilight is one I use all the time. I'm quite used to it. And then but it's definitely got potential. But I think it's quite an old system. I'm not sure if it's one that will be usable in the future going forward. And I wish there was more options and it would configure more. But yeah, so take your pick out of those. Those are the ones I've given my reviews on. Something you might find useful and interesting for going forward for your games. If you do, enjoy. Please like, subscribe, and tell me what you think. Thanks a lot.